Okay, so this is episode 4 of JP's Fantastic Grinds, and this one is going to be on Mayhem's second studio album, Grand Declaration of War. Came out in the year 2000, 6 years after De Mysterious Doms Satanis. So this is their first album without Euronymous, and they brought back Maniac and hired on Blasphemer on guitars, Maniac on vocals, who was also on Death Crush. And there was a lot of, people saying this is not a real Mayhem album, but they definitely went a different direction, that's for sure. But this one that I'm gonna spin is a repress that I got in a box set, but this is from Season of Mist. But I didn't even get started. I didn't even really get into Mayhem till about, I don't know, a little over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. But this is definitely one of their more, how do you say it? One of their more experimental albums. I was reading a review and someone was comparing it to Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost. This is art to me. This is what artists really do. They don't, they explore, they discover, different ideas, things like that. They don't just stick with the same thing all the time, which is what a lot of metal bands do. So you got to give a little credit to Mayhem for, returning after all that craziness with the death of Euronymous and Dead, of course, allegedly killing himself and all this. So, they came back 6 years later. A lot of people didn't even think that they should even be a band anymore, but they came up with something pretty special here, I think. Because, if you really are a musician, that means you're an artist, and an artist is creative, right? So why not, But I was going to read a little bit from the Wikipedia page. There you can see the lineup. Maniac on vocals. Of course you had Hellhammer, Necro Butcher, Blasphemer on guitars. But even some of these song titles are like, when I first saw some of these song titles, I was like, what? A Blood Sword and a Colder Sun, Part 1. A Blood Sword and a Colder Sun, Part 2. Completion and Science of Agony. And then there's a Completion in Science of Agony, Part 2. Yeah, such a, a lot of people don't speak too much about this one. But then on the repress, which I also got, it came in the box set. They have, this is the album cover. It looks like Jesus maybe holding a dove. But if you look closely, well, it's hard to see here, but if you look closely, there are some numbers. What is the deal with this? It's kind of hard to see here. There's numbers down here on this wall, but I've never really known exactly what they are. A lot easier to see on the actual album cover. Maybe I'll throw that in a second here. Yeah, these guys are not idiots, that's for sure. There's some smart bands out there in the metal scene, that's for sure. They're not a bunch of meatheads like, you know, people think of metalheads as Beavis and Butthead or something like that, but these guys are from Norway and they have an education, you know, they're not dumb, that's for sure.